Hello everybody, how are we all doing today? It is the second episode of Sharpy Does Bits, where I, Sharpy, do bits with people that I like and generally just people in general to make everything fantastic. I'm keeping a community together through a realm of shit times just to keep a bit of positivity spreading through the nations and getting people on to talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about and just spreading some cheer and positivity. So for the second episode, guys, I have got a good friend of mine, and if any of you watch the Utopia Project podcast, you will know him. It is the most wonderful Matt Heaton, who was a ex-god on the Utopia Project, still a very good friend of mine and all of ours, Chunks and Jacks, who has come to me saying he wanted to come on the podcast and talk about mental health, which is a very, very big topic currently, especially going through the times of COVID. It is a very big thing and it's become more aware for everybody currently in our day and age. So we're going to have a little chat, and if anyone wants to get involved and get on the chat and have a little conversation with us, feel free. So I would like to introduce everybody to Mr. Matt Heaton.
Hello, brother. How you getting on? Yeah, mate, I'm not too sharp, you mate.
That's
Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. No problem at all. I'm glad you're here. Glad you come on.
It's always good to be involved. Like I did want to come on as a guest for the podcast. It's I miss the boys. I miss being a part of it.
I miss you too.
But times were, the stuff that was going on. Some of which we'll talk 100%. About tonight. Sort of led to me sort of having to take a step away from it, unfortunately. But the show's great. It's improved now since I left.
Providing a few laughs and whatnot, and we're moving forward. But how you been doing in yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. A lot better nowadays than I've been sort of for the rest of the year. Sort of not even COVID related really, but I had my issues, I had my struggles. But yeah, now I'm like 100 times better than I was.
Good, I'm glad to hear it, mate. So yeah, it's going to be a main topic sort of that we talk about is the struggles that, your experiences you've gone through yourself, and then it will come on to things that I've gone through myself, because we can only talk about our own experiences and how that has affected us, and then maybe methods that we've used to help us get in a position which is better than we was. Might not work for everyone. As I always say, we provide advice based on our own experiences. It is a tool, so to speak, that someone can try. It might not work for everyone, but it's something that has worked for us. Talk about your tools you've used, talk about my tools we've used, positions we've been in, positions we're in now, and then the journey of how we've got there. If that sounds good to you.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
So if you are all right with talking about it, I've got a sort of couple of points to start off on. Obviously, the topic being bringing some positivity in a world of negativity, which was the main topic that we wanted to talk about when we said about doing this. So to sort of start it off, Just if you're all right with it, talking about a few struggles that you've gone through and what it was that you were suffering with and factors that were impacting that and generally how that was making you feel at the time.
Yeah, 100% not a problem. Yeah, 100% not a problem. So, um, I'm now no longer doing it, but I was a police officer,
Yeah, man.
which is something that I'd wanted to do since I could remember, sort of, well, 12, 13 years old, probably 11, 12, somewhere around there. Something happened to me, and sort of from that age, I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to go out on the streets and wanted to be able to help people.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, started doing that. Got through my training in May 2019, and got me through my training. Got out independent, and then I started struggling with certain bits. It was very, very much work orientated.
Yeah, I was about to say, was that a factor of a factor of the job, or was that like an outside sort of factor that was implementing that?
I think it was the main factor. There was, I think there probably was another element to it that wasn't helping the situation. But the main situation, the main factor to it was work really, and it wasn't the going to work and doing the physical job of it. It was the paperwork workload that I struggled with. Some officers absolutely excel in it, but managing. So I was a response officer. I was a response cop.
Is that where you have to be out like off the drop of a hat, like on call type?
Yeah, basically.
Type stuff?
Yeah, basically. So someone calls 999. They've just been beaten up in the street. I'm one of the officers that's going to turn up at that sort of job. Or was. So obviously you're being called constantly on the radio to go to jobs, which is part of the job. But then you also have crimes that you pick up that you've got to, progress and investigate. And it's finding the time. It was finding the time and managing my time and my workload to get the paperwork side of things done.
So I suppose it's all going on top of it, isn't it? You're getting called out, going to stressful jobs, and then you're coming back and trying to do paperwork, then getting called out again, then more paperwork's mounting up, and then it's it's becoming a larger pile than a smaller pile.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And like I said, experience, you'll sort of learn to manage your workload, but it got to the point where I was starting to have panic attacks.
Yeah, man.
And my anxiety was through the roof, which led to me actually having time off work. I remember the first time I sort of had a panic attack. I was in an appointment at the police station.
Did you realise it was a panic attack at the time?
No, I had no idea because I'd never had one before. I'd never had anxiety or to that sort of level before, and I could feel myself going during the appointment at the station where I had the victim of a woman was reporting a crime, and her partner was there to support her, and I could feel myself going, but I knew that I had to get through that appointment. I had to take the information that I could, and then
this was that adds more pressure as well, doesn't it? When you can feel yourself going, you feel your heart rate going up, and then you can't crack when you're under pressure then, but then that's added more pressure to it, and then that's the thing with panic attacks, isn't it? One thing adds on to another thing, which then becomes too hard to process, and then you feel yourself sort of lose control.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was bizarre because like I said, I could feel myself going, and it was an evening time because when I finished the appointment and sort of saw them out of the station because the main inquiry office was closed, so I had to show them down some steps and out the side door sort of thing. And I took them out and I went back into the office that I was into the room, and I just sat down there at my laptop and I just broke down and just started crying, and I was like, part of me was like, I don't even necessarily know what I'm crying about.
That's the thing, innit? Yeah, when you don't know. I think that's the main thing, isn't it? When you don't know and you can't process it, and you just feel all the emotions before you can logically understand them.
Yes.
Which is a difficult thing. Was it quite a surprise then? And was it a surprise? Did you feel yourself that day? Did anything feel different, off, any more stress, or was it just a bam, this is big surprise, and it snuck up on your time?
No, so I could. Obviously, in hindsight, like I knew at the time that something wasn't right in the build up. I knew there was aspects of it because there was times where. So basically, when I had my panic attack, I was just like, I just want to get out of it. I want to get out of work. I just want to go home. I don't want to be here. And it's not because I didn't enjoy the job. It's the job. It's my dream job from when I was growing up. But it was literally just a panic attack and me feeling so overwhelmed by aspects of the job that I was just like, I want to get out of it. I rang my partner at the time, and spoke to her, and she sort of settled me down a bit, and she said, go speak to the sergeant. So I went to the sergeant that I sort of felt most
comfortable talking
closer
to,
most comfortable with. And I spoke to him, and again, I just trying to explain to him how I was feeling. I just literally, as soon as I started talking, just broke again. But yeah, that sort of led to me having some time off work. Ended up getting stunned off with anxiety and stuff.
Was it?
Tried to go back.
So was it at that point that you realised that things might be a bigger issue than you thought, or was it a few panic attacks later, sort of thing, where you'd thought, okay, this might be more of an issue than just one sort of minor hiccup?
So the point that I sort of realised that this is going to be an issue. So I had a couple of weeks off work, I do believe, and then I was due to go back in, and it was a night shift that I was due to go back in on, and it was a weekend, so it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night shifts. And I could feel myself in the build-up on, the Friday afternoon. I was like, right, I've got work tonight, and I could feel myself getting tense again. Now, obviously, in hindsight, I can now, I know the symptoms, and I know when it's coming on.
At that point,
which I don't have anymore.
I suppose you could see at that point then as well that if it was you were getting those feelings when it was the thoughts of work and going back to work, you can link them to and say, okay, maybe it's something to do with this, which is causing me the anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it. And I got sorted, and I got in my car to go to work. And as I got in my car, I rang again my now ex-partner, my girlfriend at the time, because she was a really solid, she was an absolute rock and really supportive through that. And I was talking to her on the way to work, and I got probably halfway, a little bit under halfway, and I was just driving along, and I wrote down, started, crying, and at that point, literally, it was, I was crying but laughing at the same time, because I was like, what am I even crying about?
Strong emotions, aren't they? And it so it all gets mixed up into one big sort of fog of smoke, doesn't it? And it becomes very overwhelming, which I get. But was it? So when you was feeling these sort of strong emotions, was you finding that it was struggling to get back into work to sort of then deal with it? And then like, how was the process of it from then? How was it you managed to overcome those anxieties at the time, even if it's just in little steps, to get through to talk to work, to then find a routine of creating a strategy around that?
I mean, obviously I was in semi-regular contact with my sergeants. It was sort of less so to start with, because we didn't realise at the time it was going to be a longer term thing, really. But it was at that point when I broke down going into work that I knew it was an issue. I ended up having like 4 months off, and basically, there's a thing that I don't know if it's just a police thing. I don't think it is, but there's a thing, something called EAP, which I think is Employee Assistance Program or something like that. And you speak to them, you can talk to them over the phone, a bit like Samaritans, but you can also get like counselling sessions. And it was through there was issues to start with, actually getting those sessions signed off, because they've got to contact the constabulary and be like, so the constabulary can be like,
a lot of paperwork involved in that, a lot of time to wait.
Well, it shouldn't have took as long as it did. There was a bit of a mix matching communication, which didn't help. But a mixture of having that counselling, which helps so much, and having that counselling, a mixture of support personally within the family, and then sort of eventually got to the point, because it was longer term, that we sort of with work set out goals of like phase to return, to go back to work. So I weren't going to go straight back onto shift doing 9-10 hour shifts, doing everything as before. it was building it up, starting with the sort of 4 or 5 hour shifts, not on the front line, and then slowly building up the hours and building up responsibilities. But that didn't happen. You know, that wasn't until. So I went off mid-December last year. About a year ago that it happened, started happening, and it wasn't until start of April that I actually went back to start that process.
Was it was it after the 4 months you had off that process began? Or did that process begin before you had this sort of large chunk of time off, if that makes sense?
So my counselling started during that time off. And with talking to the counsellor and stuff, she said like to have have at least 3 or 4 of the sessions before I do attempt to go back to work, so we can sort of try and get to the bottom of things and put coping mechanisms in place. Which work were fine with. They're very much on the whole mental health thing. As an organisation, they are still certain people within the organisation that aren't quite up to scratch with it all, because it is a new thing for a lot of people. But yeah. I got back in and it was all good. Went to a few, and it proved to me that it was the paperwork side of things, because I went to a particularly nasty job while I was in that phased return, and I was out doing jobs again, but I was crewed up with someone, because you're not double crewed. And I remember it was during lockdown, so there was a lot of things that we were dealing with during lockdown, just sort of jobs that were happening more often. Mental health jobs. I won't go into too much detail, but it wasn't a very pleasant job, and it was a mental health job. And we was there all shift.
How long was your shifts?
That was a Sunday shift. So it was a 7 till 3, and we ended up being at this house where someone had a mental health crisis, basically, and he'd taken his own life. And we were there all day in that situation, and you just sort of get on with it. And that didn't cause me any kind of anxiety, any kind of issues. Mental health. Yes, it's a sad situation, but I just sort of got on with it. I knew it was the job. I did what I could. I did what I could for the family. And this was when you returned to. This was after a return. So that
at this point would
reinforce the fact that it was the paperwork side of things rather than the physical side.
Would you say after the time off you had and the coping mechanisms you had in place, you'd become sort of more self-aware of your feelings and the things that caused the feelings after you go back, so you could look at that and say, and sort of take a step back and say, okay, it's not that, I know it's this. As before, it might have been more overwhelming as to all these emotions and not knowing the cause.
Absolutely. So at this point, I'd had my counselling sessions. I think I'd finished or just had one counselling session left, and because it was such an emotionally draining day because of the sort of incident that we were at. On the way home, I had a bit of a cry, but that was just because I was so emotionally drained, and that was my body sort of dealing with it. It didn't cause me any kind of anxiety or any kind of issues. In the fact that I'd been struggling before, because like during my time off, because I didn't know what I was going to do, because I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. So I got in a really dark place, and I had some really dark thoughts. And I'll be very honest and open about it. There was times I was suicidal because my whole life, my whole adolescent and adult life had been lined up to be a police officer.
All of it into this, everything that I've aspired to be is to this.
Yes.
And then when other situations come in the block in the road of that, and when you don't see solutions of how to overcome that, then I've been in that situation where you just think, well, what else am I good at, or what else am I going to do, because this is everything that I am, and I am not a person, and I'm not a valuable person if I aren't doing this one thing that I've trained up to be for so much. And then that's when the breakdowns happen. That's
exactly it. Like literally all I could see was me being a police officer. So the fact that I'd done it and I was struggling with it, and I was sort of starting to come to terms with, maybe this job isn't for me. Maybe it's not the right timing for me to do the job, and maybe I'm going to have to look at doing other things. But at the same time, the majority of my emotions and my feelings were, well, what else can you do? And literally, because I was so overwhelmed, and there was this huge cloud that was just sort of consuming me mentally, because I was in such a dark place. I just could not see any options. I could not see any light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, "There's nothing else I can do." So many different options. So many.
I know exactly what you mean. Like I say, but even it's like simple things, isn't it? Simple options to take that. But once you are surrounded by this cloud of anxieties and depressions, everything is also very much exasperated. And people being human, you seem to dwell more on the negative things than you do on the positive things. And until you have that outside perspective or a helping hand, a bit of support there to say, have you thought about this? It becomes very difficult to see those options.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I really did feel helpless. Like I thought that was it. I thought there's nothing I can do, which is what led me to being suicidal.
There's no way out.
Well, I failed. There's literally nothing else I can do. And I messed. So the sergeant that I first initially went to, incredible supportive bloke. What a legend this guy is. He's going through some issues himself now with stuff. Obviously won't go into details, but he's been absolutely solid. And I actually messaged him the other night because I was thinking about it, and it sounds a bit morbid and stuff, but I messaged him because I hadn't actually told him that there was a night that he saved my life.
Really?
Because I was in such a dark place, and I've mentioned this to a couple of people. But yeah, I was in a place one night where I was at home. I was on my own, and I was going to basically I'd got some drink, and I was drinking Amaretto and Coke, and the plan was to get drunk, go for a walk, and whenever I plucked up the courage was to step out in front of a car.
Well, I'm sorry he was in that position, dude.
It's. I don't look back at it, because I do look back at it, but not in a. It is a negative thing, but I don't dwell on it. But basically, yeah, I was drinking, and I messaged this guy that was my sergeant at the time when I first started, having my troubles, just to see how he was getting on because of the stuff he was going through, and it was literally having that conversation with him, him showing that he cares, checking in with me, and all that sort of stuff. I poured away what I was drinking, and I went up and got in bed and just went to sleep. And yeah, he saved my life massively because I was going to go out and potentially kill myself, which is really horrible and morbid. But it's a part
if it was there, it was there, man. And like, I think we all need to be sort of aware that the little things that we do can make or break things. It's why people always say like you should always be kind to people because you don't know what people are going through, and
100%.
It's little things that make up the big things. Your life's made up of all these little things, and little tiny decisions can change someone's entire life like that. I mean, it was, for me, talking about my experiences, it was when, obviously, I was going through all my stuff, and I was coming to the club meet when we was all sat around the table, and it was, for me, walking in there after I'd sort of not been a great friend, and I've been in a really isolated, dark place, and I'd ended up isolating myself more, so then I only had my own sort of perspectives to go off, which were bouncing from negative to negative to negative, and going in with this really sort of dark mindset, and expecting just to get a lot of shit, really. And then from there, sort of saying, right, I'm going to get shit here, then I'm going to be leaving there, and I'm going to go and just go on this downward spiral, probably to end up in a very similar position. But I remember it was actually you, Matt, that turned around and sort of said that I'm worried about you. And I always remember that because that was the complete perspective flip of these are people that have had enough of me shit now. They're just, that's it, wipe my hands. But then when it turned around, it was like, oh, these people actually still care. That was the moment that I decided and, use that influence of, right, this perspective from this negative perspective is actually, no, I've got a lot more support around me than I originally thought. Did a similar thing for me. And I could only sort of thank you for doing that, because it's something that I'll always stick in my head. Again, it's a little thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a massive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. You don't need to thank me
I
at
need
all
to, but
because
it's important to me.
no, I know, but I remember it, and it was, there was a period of time. Obviously, I'm now no longer in the club. I'd sort of stepped away from that as well. Where you could just tell that there's something wasn't right. You were, as much as people say this about teenagers, you hang around with the wrong sort of people, and getting into and doing stuff that it was really concerning and really worrying. And yeah, I just had a feel, I could just tell that there's something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And rather than sitting there and thinking, oh, something's, it's not right, it's not right. There's literally nothing wrong, and this proves it's just to talk to them, and literally, I just, what's going on, mate? Because something's not right, and I'm worried that you're gonna go downhill quickly.
Yeah, that meant a lot to me, because, like I say, it completely changed how I thought. I mean, it's never good to what's the word? Anticipate. Well, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, when things haven't happened. But I don't know, from my own perspective, I don't know if you're the same. When you're in a negative mindset, you do anticipate it, like, oh, well, I feel like this, and then, oh, that's good, that's going to happen, and that's going to be shit. But then that's going to happen, and then that's going to be even worse. And then you go from one thing to the other, so you end up with these really surreal experiences in your head. These like horrible sort of experiences, like talking about another one. I remember having a panic attack myself, and not talking to anyone about it, getting worse and worse. And then I was absolutely assured if I rung a crisis line, people were going to come smash through my doors, put me in a straitjacket, and off they go. Yeah. And I look now and think, of course I'm not going to do that. That's like, it's ridiculous. But at the time, it seems so real in your head. And for me, in that situation, I had the thing of, right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get, you've been shit at this, you've been away, you haven't been fucking in contact, you're a shit friend, that's it, fuck off. And that's where my head was. And that was so real in my head, and the anxieties are going into it, and then you start preparing yourself for situations that haven't happened. So then you go in with this thick skin, like, oh, I don't care, it's fine, whatever, I'm not bothered. And then it takes one thing to throw you off guard, and then sort of open up your vulnerable side a bit more, and you take them walls down, and then you see things from a different perspective. Like, say, all these outside things, these little lights at the end of the tunnel, like you said about this big cloud, they're all there, and they're right here, but you can't see them until somebody just wafts it away a bit.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. You've literally, obviously it's different for a lot of people, but you hit the nail on the head massively. I saw no light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, right, I can't be a police officer. I failed at being a police officer. There's nothing else I can do. I'm going to end out being jobless for the first time in my adult life. What am I going to do? No one's going to want to be with me. I'm going to end up being alone for the rest of my life.
One thing to the next, to the next, to the next, isn't it? And then
exactly. And I was in a relationship. Yeah, exactly. And I was in a relationship at the time, and I was thinking, and I've not really said this to anybody, but I was thinking, well, I'm going to be jobless. She's going to leave me. No one's going to want me. I'm not going to be with anyone. I'm not going to have a job. I'm going to have literally nothing. I'll have to go bankrupt because I'll get my car and stuff that I've got to pay for. Which isn't even the end of the world.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
It's just things that at that moment in time that it does feel like the end of the world, because there's no positivity. You're just thinking, literally, you just think of all the negative situations. And it wasn't until I sort of got back into work and things started looking up, but I knew that something still wasn't right. I ended up having a couple of weeks off after I returned to work because again, I got to the point where my anxiety was really bad, and that's when I went on to medication. And I'd already applied for, so a job had come up in the force control room as a dispatcher. So basically, being on the other end of the radio to what I was on at the time, I was basically sending officers to jobs, giving them information. But because I was in a bad place, when I applied for it, I just rushed through the application and didn't put enough care into it.
Okay.
So it was a really bad application, and I didn't get through the paper sift. I didn't get through the application stage to even go on to any kind of assessment. So that made it even like when I first got the rejection for that, I don't know what it was. I must have been having a really good day. I just went, right, fair enough. I'm not going to the control room. I'm gonna have to smash the shit out of being a copper then, and absolutely nail it. Go back and smash it. Which for that moment was brilliant. And then I went to work and my anxiety was up here again.
Back surrounded by
it's not good. But fortunately, the job came up again, and this time I was in a better position. I was in a better mental state. Still struggling to an aspect.
What was the position between you going back to work as a copper and when that job as dispatch came up again? Were you still working in that gap, or what was it that made your mentality better in that duration, if that makes sense?
So I'd gone back to work, and because I'd been a part of the phased, I'd done the phased return. I was in the phased return, because it was sort of baby stepping back into the role, and it was during that the first lockdown. So the sort of jobs we were going to weren't particularly pleasant, but the volume of them were very much manageable. Because obviously there's less people out and about, there's less people on the streets. Not that it all happens on the streets, obviously we go to people's houses. I say we, don't do it anymore. But yeah, the volume of jobs had gone down, so it was easier for me to manage what I was having to do. I wasn't picking up too much stuff that I was struggling with, and it just left me in a better mental position. And when I applied for the dispatch job the second time, put a lot better effort into it, and I got through all the process. And going through that process, like I got through the paper sift. That little bit of light appeared at the end of the tunnel. Then after the paper sift, I think there was some sort of assessment. I got to pass the assessment. That light tunnel got bigger. And basically each stage that I went through, coming away from the interview, I felt quite good. And it was like, it's there.
Yeah.
It is literally there.
You start to get that self-confidence back, and that you that realisation of that, what that light is seeing I am capable. I can do things. There is more than just the one thing I had set on my mind. You think, right, I can still now be in the industry that I've worked so hard to be in, but I can do it in a position which is also manageable around my mental health, and I can still help people, and I can do it in a way which is still going to help myself, which is, it's fantastic that you've been able to do that and work through that situation, because that's what people struggle with so much. And like I say, I think that is why suicide rates are so high, and mental health is such a big thing, is because people struggle to get through the solutions, and don't have the right support around them as well. Like you say, that sergeant there you had and whatnot, just the little things like that make or break. And it's helped you open that up, and then one thing has led to another, and it's domino effect in a good way. Then you're in a better position, and when you're in a better position, then you've done the application better. You've done the application better. You've got on. Then that grows and grows and grows, and it can either grow one way or it can grow another way. So the fact that you managed to work on that and build on that is fantastic. So I think you need to give yourself some credit and be proud of that, man.
And it does feel good to, like so many people have said, the job isn't always for people. It might not necessarily be the right time, and like a lot of people that I've spoke to have said, it takes a big person to acknowledge that something isn't right and something's not working, and to take steps to address those issues. It takes someone to really know and get to terms with things. For me to be able to say, look, it's not right. I need to step away and I need to do something else. And also, I'm so grateful that opportunity came up in the dispatch and the control room, where I can stay as a part of the constabulary. I can stay within the police force, and I can continue to be a part of that process of helping people, but not necessarily. I mean, we're still classed as frontline staff because obviously, without people in the control room to send the officers aren't going to know what they're doing or where they're going. But it's taken that step back from the front line of physically being there and physically having everything that the officers have to do. Nothing but respect for police officers. A lot of people give them stick, and I'm not just saying this because I was one, but I always had respect for them anyway. But now, having done the job, I can acknowledge and appreciate how much more there is to it than just going to a job and arresting someone. There is so much work to it. There is so much paperwork, which is all the stuff that I struggled with. Going out and physically doing it was spot on. It's a bit, it's the side of the job that I enjoyed and I love doing. Nothing but respect because they have so much going on, so much to do, and so little time to do it.
I know, definitely give mad respect to police officers, man, and for yourself, even like I say, being like brave enough to go for it, and then brave enough to find ways through when you feel like you wasn't suited to a certain role, to be able to still go forward and still push. It takes a big man to do that, and a big man to keep moving forward, and it does show the character of the person. So fucking, like I say, well done to you, mate. You've done fucking brilliant with it.
Cheers, man. Appreciate that. Cheers, man. Appreciate that. And I mean, it wasn't even, leaving the job and having that light and that option of the control room, which it wasn't easy even when it was, the process of it happening. So it was about 2.5 weeks ago now, was when I left the job as a copper. It was 25th was my last day technically, but the 24th I went in and I was handing all my gear over to the sergeant. Handing in all my equipment and stuff, and walking away from the office. And even though I plan on being a special constable within the force, so basically volunteering a couple of days a week, a couple of days a month, and do the physical side of the job that I enjoy without the worry of all the paperwork. Even though that is hopefully on the horizon, it was still a really emotional, really sort of down day to be handing in all that gear. And to be fair, there was a good few days afterwards where I was just in a bad mood. I wasn't in a particularly happy place, and that was because I was sad that I'd handed in my warrant card. I was no longer a police officer.
What is to remember?
And during that few days, I was moping about, and I was looking at myself and thinking, you failed at being a police officer, even though I'd already told myself and spoke to people and acknowledged that I've not failed at being a police officer. I've succeeded in my dream of being a police officer.
It's hard. I think it's hard to take your own advice at times, but like I say, the thing I find with those things is working through your issues, your anxieties, and your depression. It's still okay to have down days. It's still okay to be anxious, and I believe like one coping mechanism I used for like anxiety attacks and panic attacks was if I would start feeling anxious, if I would start feeling down and whatnot, instead of going from one thing to the other and going, oh, here it comes, I'm coming, start doing my techniques, my finger techniques and whatnot, and then start freaking out, it's just saying, I'm anxious or I'm a bit sad. That's all right. That's part of being human. That is fine to do. It's just learning to have more good days than bad days. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm looking at the fact that since things have been all good. So I got medicated for anxiety. I didn't want any antidepressants. I said I don't want them. No, I wanted to try and do it without. It got to a point where I needed some sort of tablets to help with the anxiety side of things, though, because I was going back to work and I knew I needed something to get me through work. And since I knew I was leaving, since I had a meeting at work and stuff, I've stopped taking the tablets. I've stopped taking the medication. I don't need it. I've still got it in case it sort of flares back up again. But since I've had down days, but I've not had any panic attacks. I've not had anxiety to the point where I do not know.
Because you are now more in control of yourself, and that anxiety medication was a tool there to use for you to be able to sort it out yourself. Because at the end of the day, as we've said many times before, it's you that sorts it out. Like there's no such thing as a magic pill. There's no such thing as somebody doing it for you. If you want to do it, you've got to do it. Things will help you alleviate some stress to be able to process things like that medication has done, and then you can process it, and it's your head and it's you that's sorted it, and that in itself, mate, is a very, very big feat. And I think that is what creates lasting results. You know, as we've said before, like, you find if you don't do it yourself, or you have someone help you through it rather than guide you through it, big difference in words there, you find your mindset would still be the same, and you might get help through a situation, but getting help through it means you would then repeat the same mistakes to end up in that worse situation. But like, you have sorted this yourself. I have sorted my anxieties myself to the point now I'm very self-aware. You are very self-aware of your emotions. And yes, we do have bad days, but it's how we react to those bad days, and it's how we, after those bad days have ended, how we move forward from them steps, because we are always moving forward. And to be able to learn how to move forward with it is a big thing. I think there's something I always envision with it is your anxieties and your depression and whatever else anyone deals with is I sort of visualise it as a person in your head. And this person, if you continually try to run away from it, you've got to get away, run away from it, it's someone that's always going to be there. Even now, even though in our, I don't know if you're the same, but for me, I know it's there. As much as the light and the end of the tunnel's here, also the depression's anxiety's here as well. They're still there. There's like your angel on the shoulder and your devil on the shoulder sort of thing. But then visualising trying to run away from this person that you cannot get away from is going to knock you out. If you learn to walk with this person, you learn to understand this person here and know it's here and know how to work with this as a part of yourself, then you start to make progress.
Yeah, 100. Like you. The way you've explained that there is absolutely spot on. Like, it's absolutely perfect. And to sort of to go back and touch on what you said about the guidance and the help being two different things. But yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. Obviously, we've discussed it previously, and the difference there is if you help someone through it, next time they fall into that downward spiral again, they're going to potentially need help again because you've helped them through it. The difference is with guidance is flipping it in the fact that you're helping them through it, but you're guiding them in the way that they're still in control. They're doing it themselves with your guidance. So next time they have an issue and they start to struggle and they start to go down that spiral, they know what to do because they've done it before and they've remembered. Their brain isn't going to go, I need that help again. Their brain's going to go, right, I had this guidance, I did this last time. They're going to be able to then
also it plants that seed.
So there's a big difference for anybody that's listening. It is a big difference between help and guidance. And yes, everybody says get help, but the help is actually guidance.
Exactly.
Get guidance to go through it. Because if you rely on that help and not do it yourself, you're going to find it more difficult. You may get out of that situation and that incident of your anxiety, depression, but the next time that you do inevitably have a down day and a bad day or a bad couple of weeks, you're going to struggle to get back up out of it because you're going to keep on the help. If you've done it yourself, you're going to remember how you got out of it.
And it's planting that seed into it, and someone's had to guide them to know that they have done this on their own, and to have it as I'm in control. I have done this once before, because, like you say, that with that anxiety, that depression sits here, and if somebody gets out of that and is helped out of it, it's not gone. It's still here. And there'll be triggers that'll bring it back. It's just when it comes back, knowing how to deal with it and knowing that big word there, you are in control. And everyone's in control a lot more than they think they are. Again, it's just a matter of perspective on seeing it and knowing how to do it and having that support network there to guide you through stuff, but ultimately knowing the issues that are in your head are for you to sort out, because nobody can be inside your head to sort them out. But you do have the power, and your brain is powerful enough. You have so much power to be able to sort this out yourself. Sometimes you do just need a little bit of a wafting with the clouds of negativity to be able to see it. And then when people start to know their self-worth and know their confidence and know how strong they are as a person, having those little things there, like we said earlier, that little light at the end of the tunnel gets bigger. Oh, I feel more confident now because I've seen I can do this. I've proved I can do this. That gets bigger. Well, if I can do that, I can also do this. And then it builds up. Them tiny steps. Because I think I've said it before. I'm not sure if I've said it on this podcast, but life's made up of the little things, the little steps, the big feats in life. You don't get there without building the little steps. And the little steps are exactly what make up the big ones. So if you focus on those little ones day by day, just getting through no matter what it is. You know, I did it when I first had my anxiety. I had Chunk on the who's on Utopia podcast when he was helping me through it. He said, right, we're going to write a list of things to keep in control, of things that you've done that are positive. And it was like day one, it was like meet club member's son. And then it was like, you know, didn't have a panic attack, was only sick once. And even that sounds like, well, you're still sick from it. Yeah, but I was only sick once. That's better than being sick 5-6 times a day from it. And then it's little tiny things like that. And then day 2, those little things become bigger things. And then, you know, by day 20, 30, the things that you're doing, you're like, not had a panic attack in 3 weeks, not been sick in 4 weeks, not, you know, and bigger, more, I don't know, what's the word for it? They're just bigger achievements, and you can see as the progress goes on, and you can see you can keep control of that, and it's another thing to keep control of. So that is a coping mechanism for me, actually. I would recommend somebody try, if they are struggling with anxieties, just writing down 5 positive points a day. One that was given to me by Trunk is something that worked for me quite well.
It's not something that I tried personally, and it's not something that I did, but I can see how it would work because you're concentrating on the positive side of things. And touching on the whole control thing, like being in control thing, it's huge because anybody that has had, I mean, obviously it's different for everybody. Nobody is exactly the same, but when you're going through your mental health issues, your anxiety, your depression, and having that cloud over you, that's a big thing. You do not feel like you have any control over your life. You literally feel like you are a passenger, and there's nothing that you can do to change change the direction that you're going in. So the whole being in control, and I imagine, you know, that list of 5 positive things, you know, is going to help with that massively because you're writing down the positive things that you've done, so you can see, well, there's 5 things that I've done that I've taken control of.
It's not a fragment of your imagination then or anything. It's not in the air. It's down on paper. You've done these things. It's a fact. These are positive facts, proven, done, positives that have come out. And giving yourself that little glimmer of hope there. Like I say, the small steps, the little glimmer becomes a bigger glimmer, becomes a bigger glimmer, becomes a bigger glimmer. And then it just ends up with a completely different mindset by the end of it. And you've just got to condition yourself. You know, there'll be some times that going off the conditioning thing, you'll be there where you don't think you feel very positive, you do feel negative, and sometimes you'll feel like you're lying to yourself because you're saying, I am feeling positive today, I am doing this, I'm smiling, but I don't feel like I'm smiling. But the more you do it and the more you condition your mind to be like, I am positive, I am doing well, I am going places, that then becomes kidding yourself into you thinking it, into being conditioned into it. And when you are then conditioned into something, just like when you are conditioned into a set of negativity where you don't see the steps where you do slip because you have these blinkers on, and then you turn around, you're up shit creek, you know, there would have been little things there and little signs that knock you down every so often because at the time you're not very self-aware of what is going on. And then you end up in this situation. But that also, what can happen to get you down there can also get you up the top. And the more you think of these little things and you push for it, the more you realise how much you are capable of. And everybody is so fucking capable of doing things that they don't think they can do. Just don't second guess yourself and just say, no, I can fucking do it. Whatever you want to do, you can fucking do it. Have the confidence there to want to live a happy life for you and nobody else around you. You know, it's crazy when you think about it.
It's also not giving up at the first attempt either. because it's certain things that you try and do, whether that be to get your mental health better, or whether it's actually something unrelated. You might not always be successful the first time round. So try it again. Just try it again. Perfect example is me going for the job that I now do. I went for it the first time. It was half-assed. I didn't get it. It did not stop me going for it again, which I've now done. I've got the job, and it's now got me in a much better position to be able to live my life without without the issues. They're still, like I said, like you've said, they're still there. The anxiety, the depression's still there. But like you said, I'm walking alongside it now. I control that. I control that now. Every now and then it comes in, but I take control of it, and I've
massively.
got it.
100%. I do, like I say, I come back to this all the time with a load of different things. It's perspective. And at the end of the day, if you have your perspective that things that are negative, and when you don't succeed that first time, we do not grow and we do not develop and we do not learn anything as a person without the shit times or without failing. If you win, that is great. That is fantastic. But all these people that win all the time, the people you're like, oh, I want to be like this person because they're doing so well and whatever it is, they have failed 1,000 times, and without failing, you do not learn. I would much rather continually learn and continually develop as a person, which also in turn means I have to continually fail at things to understand why I failed and then grow and overcome that to progress.
100%.
I would never want to stop developing as a person. The day I stop developing as a person and stop growing and stop understanding and learning new things about myself and my surroundings and being very self-aware is the day that I die. Because this is what life's about. It's understanding yourself, and it's understanding what's important to you and how you want to progress and how you want to move forward to make you happy. And that is different for everyone. But you will not learn these things unless you understand where you go wrong at points to then progress. So there are still positives and negatives. Take the positives out of it to continually build on your happiness and your success.
Yeah, like you said, going back with the everybody fails. Perfect example. Everybody looks up to celebrities and famous people and people that are really successful in their fields. You look at actors, Tom Hardy, Will Smith. Do you honestly think that they have got every single job that they've applied for? Do you think that they've gone to every single audition and they've got every single job? Of course they haven't. They've auditioned for roles and they've been unsuccessful. They've been knocked back for it. They've not then given up on everything. They've gone for the next role. They've got that role. They've gone for another role. They've done, and you keep going. It's the same with every
100%.
aspect of life. It's not just actors. You look at singers. They'll write a song. It's shit. No one listens to it. They don't give up on singing and songwriting. They'll do another one, and they'll be successful.
I've said to you, fame, all these famous people at the top of their game, fame is a byproduct of somebody that is so passionate about what it is that they do that they will not fail, because they will succeed because they have failed, and they do not give up, and they move forward and they move forward and they move forward, and their success is up here and their fame is up here because it is a byproduct of the person and the willpower that they have got inside of them.
Yeah, exactly. There are people that are famous for the sake of being famous. Their goal was to get famous, and they've done it, but there's no substance to it. There's no substance, like you've said. Fame should be a byproduct of being successful in your field. You're a successful actor. You become famous as a byproduct of being that successful actor. You're a celebrity. That's not your job. Your job is not a celebrity. Your job is an actor. Your job is a singer. Your job is an athlete.
Exactly, because they are so passionate about what it is they do, and they have that will above others to go that little bit further and that little bit more to achieve things which other people aren't achieving.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And you see it more with sports people, as an example. Because obviously with actors, you don't see their unsuccessful auditions because they're not on screen. Sports is a lot better.
Eddie Hall,
look at any bit of sport you can think of. AJ, Anthony Joshua. He lost and lost his titles. He didn't just retire and give up from boxing and spiral downwards. Yeah, I'm sure it was tough to take, but he knuckled down. He worked hard. He came back and he won the rematch.
Exactly.
And got back on track with it. And the sports side of things is the only reason why I bring that up is because you can physically see when they've been unsuccessful with something, because it's on TV, it's in the public domain for people to see.
Same with like Eddie Hall, someone I've looked up to with like competing in powerlifting and whatnot, fitness in the past. I mean, he fixed trucks for a living, not that long ago. You know, and he did competitions. He went to World's Strongest Man. He competed. He didn't make it. He come back. He reassessed because he says, "I will be World's Strongest Man." Not I'm going to try to be. No, it's I will be, because I believe you are that powerful. Your mind is that powerful. You can do anything that you put your mind to, and it's such a cliche saying. But once you start to see that less as a saying and more of a reality and a mentality, you can do anything that you want to do if you put your mind to it. You know, there's a time when Eddie Hall went for the world record deadlift, got it to the top, and then he dropped it. No lift, didn't count. Upset, felt the emotion, was crying. It's all right to feel like that, because that's part of being human. Reassess. What did you learn from it? Hold the bar at the top. I will get the world's strongest deadlift. Goes again, you know, after a lot more training, pulls it up, don't let go of the bar. World's strongest deadlifter, because he said, I will be the one that does it. I will do the steps that it takes, and I will assess it, and I will understand what I need to do to be at the top of my game, which anybody can do. It's just a fact of getting your mentality in order to be as focused on something as you need to be able to achieve it.
Yeah. And that is exactly it. It's having that right mentality and not giving up on stuff.
That's it, mate.
It's not as simple as getting it every single time. If everybody got everything they wanted first time, then like you said, no one would grow, no one would learn.
Exactly, and that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to learn about ourselves, you know. And says what's the meaning of life, or this, that, and the other. We've always got to find a purpose, and I think our purpose is to become self-aware and to understand ourselves and to understand the connection that we have with each other and find out what is important to us in each other. Because that was another question I was going to ask you, actually, which comes nicely onto it, was do you remember the things that you found important in life when you first realised, I've got these issues, I'm aware of these issues now and what I'm going through. So that point, and then just previously to that point, the things that were important to you in life. And then the things now with your more positive mindset. Do the things that are important to your life in these two things, have they changed at all? Have they developed? Is there any difference in those at all?
I would say that I've probably grown as a person because I've gone through. But I mean, because it was so work related, my issues, that the important thing for me, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to do it, probably didn't help with me spiraling with my mental health. Was a really important thing for me was being the best, literally smashing it, being the best police officer that there ever has been. And I expected myself to be the best officer.
A bit like that bloke out of
in
Hot Fuzz.
area.
Yeah. Who is it? Yeah.
Exactly, and be the best officer in the area. That's not realistic. Having been in the job for a year and a half, sort of thing, a year and a half. But that was, I put so much pressure in. It was so important for me to be the police officer, and be the pinnacle in my job. And sort of going through the issues that I had, and coming out the other side of it, I've just sort of taken on board to be more realistic, and that the important things in life aren't being the best as soon as you start.
Massively,
something.
and I think
you've got to work into it, and the important thing is appreciating. The important thing to me now, having obviously had it there, is appreciating the support that you've got around you, appreciating the love that you receive, and making the most of your family and your friends, and making the most of your life. Sometimes things don't work out. It's so be it.
Mate.
So be it. You're not going to get a win from everything. And now the things that are important for me is, like I said, making the most of family and friends, getting settled into my new job. And my goal now, going forward, is to get my own place, buy a place, settle in with the job, succeed at doing that job, and try and do it to the best of my ability at that moment in
Definitely.
time. 2 years down the line, I'm going to be better at that job than I am now. I'm still going through the training for it, but I'm not going into that job expecting to be the best person in that control room, because it's not going to happen.
I think you can visualize, and like I said before when we was talking about athletes and that potential there to be the best is there. It's just taking the steps to it, and knowing there is a process there of little steps to build up to the big one. And just going off what you said about sort of what was important to you and whatnot, I could relate back to, you know, before I had all my issues and situations at hand, what was important to me. And I thought about this, what was important to me before I went through this mentality change, and it was with personal training and fitness and competing. The only thing that was important to me was being the best powerlifter and being the strongest and sacrificing everything to be the best of that game. And then when that didn't work out, similar to you, well, I failed. I failed at life. I'm not good at anything else. I'm not good at this. I've failed as a human being. I have no self-worth if I don't achieve what, you know, this goal I've set out to do was. And then after going through all my struggles and whatnot, understanding what is important to me is a bit like you, is creating memories there with your family and friends, and having that connection and sharing your experiences and growing as an individual, but also as a collective there as well. And to be able to go through life in a positive way, knowing you've got support and you've also got like-minded people that you want to grow with. And before, to me, it was how much weight can I lift on a bar? And then, you know, I look back and I think I was putting all of my eggs in that basket for some adjudicator to tell me I've got the lift. I didn't get the lift. Some federation to tell me, realistically, from my head, you're worth something as a human, or you're not worth something as a human. And if you don't win, you haven't put in as much work as the other person, so you're no good, mate. You're no good.
Yeah.
And I realised there is so much more to life than that. You know, fitness is still a part of my life. It's to be healthy, but the reasons I do it is completely different. Don't rush to a goal and sacrifice everything that is could be so much more part of your life, and enjoy so much of your life for the sake of isolating yourself for one goal and one task, because there is so much more available.
And it's also not. It's appreciating and acknowledging. So like you just said, you put everything into your powerlifting, and you was the mindset of, you know, if I don't get that top spot, then you're not worth anything. I think a perfect example to contradict that, which is obviously, you know, what you've said isn't the case, but a perfect thing to contradict that is, I remember coming to Manchester to watch you in the World Championships. We came. We supported you all the way through it. You know, you want to, right, we're there, we're backing you, man. Right? Don't want to bring it. You came second, right? You didn't get that top spot. We didn't walk out of that arena and go, nah, fuck you, mate.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't come out of that and go, what the fuck are you playing at? What have you done? Why did you not get first? We come out of that arena together. You finished. You came out. We give you a hug. It was like, nice one, bro. Congratulate. You know, you got that. You know, you nailed it. You did what you could do.
Yeah.
And we were proud of you for even being in that position. That didn't finish, and you've got to think, you know, that if your aim is to do something, your family and friends and your loved ones aren't going to judge you if you don't quite hit that.
I suppose, like you say, from that perspective, and I've just said, you know, you know, from what I've just said, it's like, don't just put all your eggs in one basket, and it's not about, you know, just rinsing yourself for some competition, but from that aspect of it as well, it's more about the support that's there, and again, sharing that connection there with family and friends, of supporting somebody something that was at the time a big part of my life, and it was something that I put a lot of passion and a lot of training and a lot of effort into to do. and that is what is being celebrated, not the end goal, so to speak. And that's that in a grand scheme of things, like with life and whatnot. It's not always about the end goal with stuff, because the end goal will always change. There'll always be a new goal. If you're always trying to focus on the end goal, there'll always be a new goal. And by that logic, would you ever be happy? You've got to enjoy the journey that it takes to get to that, because that is a bigger part than the end result, man.
100%, 100%. And like again, going back to you at the Worlds, like again, and it relates to appreciating your family and your friends and your loved ones. Like, yes, obviously on that day, your focus was on winning the World Championships and being the best in your field, at your weight, in lifting, in powerlifting. But it's taking a step back and acknowledging your family and your friends, your loved ones, that the four of us that we travelled. What is it, like 3 hours? I think it is from my house to Manchester. Travelled to 3 hours, 3.5 hours, however far it is, to be there, shouting your name, screaming for you every time that you come out to do your lift. And it's appreciating your loved ones, because if you don't, then what's the point?
You could have everything in the world, but if you don't have people to share it with, what's the point? It's like when people say, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Like, at the end of the day, if you have everything and no one's around there to see it or share it with, is there any value in it?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's you got to ask yourself what are those important things to you? And I think we have common importances, like I say, and with the stuff that we've gone through, I think we've come to similar conclusions. Like we always said before, we'll have similarities, but we'll also be very individual at the same time, because no one can understand two people's brains, because no one can be inside someone else's brain completely. But yeah, from my perspective, man, sharing memories, creating memories, being creative and sharing the person that you are, that individual special person that has your signature stamp on whatever it is you do, to share that and for it to be celebrated with your friends and family, and for likewise for everybody to bounce off each other with their own individual personalities and grow as this community. That is what is important to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And it's took me a long time to really understand the thought of that and become aware of that. But like I say, it's an ever ongoing process. But I get excited for this process now. Before it used to be, I've got anxieties and stress because of the unknown and moving forward. What's going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? Is it going to be a negative situation? Is it going to be positive? But now, from my perspective of seeing any negative situation, I can pull a positive out of it to help me grow. And any positive situation that comes, then I'm excited to greet whatever is new and is around the corner. And as I've said previously, the same chemical in the brain that releases for anxiety also releases for excitement. It's just the way the person perceives it. And it's your mentality shift to pick either of those options.
It's absolutely spot on. And I've just had a message come through because someone's sort of seen part of the interview, sort of thing. But I don't know, like this is your show, sort of thing. But if anybody does have any questions or anything to do with mental health, then feel free to message me, comment on the thing, message Sharpy. It's always good to. I personally like to. When I was going through my issues, I enjoyed the counsellor side of things because I was talking to someone from the outside. I was talking to someone that doesn't know the policing world, that doesn't know me, that has no prior judgment, and can have a clear view on it all from the mental health side of things. If anybody's got any questions or anything, wants to message or anything, then do it. Because if I can, if I can help or you can help, basically, if we can help even one person, then that's what
we spoke about. So we had a little call earlier today, didn't we? Just having a bit of a chat and a catch up about it all and whatnot and stuff we'd speak about tonight. And like the reasonings why we were going to do this and talk about this is to help other people as well as ourselves. Like I've said before, it's putting yourself first to be in a position which you are happy, and then to be able to provide those coping mechanisms and experiences to others to help spread that positivity and happiness and to help other people as well. And if this does give somebody something to think about, and it's something that someone wants to share with us or share with their friends, or it leads that little step, like I was talking about earlier, it's little tiny steps. Some things, we might not even realise we've said tonight that has resonated with someone. And if that is a step to lead someone on to help progress their life and see people in the best situation that they possibly can, then it's fantastic. I mean, that is what, I sit and I think about a lot of these things and like what the definition of love is. And to me, the definition of love is seeing somebody in the best position they can possibly be in. And to me, anybody that I have in my life, and to be fair, people that aren't in my life, I do love everyone, and I want to see everybody doing as well as they possibly can. Even if I've had altercations with people and people aren't in my life anymore, that doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I don't want to see them doing as well for them as they possibly can. But yeah, again, it's a community thing. We're all going through this together. We like I said, we're the only ones that can sort out our own issues, but we have got that support network here, and people have got a bigger support network than they think, and there is people that care about them that they don't know care about them, and to know that they are not on their own. And if anyone's watching this that any of that's resonated with, or wants to get in contact with myself or Matt about it all, then like I say, I'm all ears. I don't know, Matt's all ears as well. Like, it's all good.
100%. 100%. I know how a lot, some people don't want to talk, don't like to try and talk. And some people do like to just sit, but it does help if even if you want to, if someone starts to talk to one of us, and then after 5 minutes they think, oh no, maybe I'm not ready. Fair enough. Take a step back and take your time. Do it when it's right for you. It's not necessarily going to be the easiest thing to talk about it, but it is beneficial.
No,
from my side of things, from what I've gone through, it was very beneficial.
Definitely.
So it could help you. It might not necessarily help you, but talking about it, for me personally, talking about it was a big thing, and it really helped. And a big thing that I always say, which I've not done, is it's okay to not be okay.
Definitely.
It's okay to need that guidance. It's okay to have your struggles. We're all human beings. We're not robots. We have feelings. We have emotions, and sometimes those feelings and emotions get the better of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you need a little guidance to get through those times when your emotions are taking control, then get that guidance. Speak to people. It'll help get through it.
Like, for me anyway, like I say, the important things I have in life are community and sharing that. So then what that says is, if you need that guidance is there, it brings them connections stronger. And if it will bring you closer to people, and it will make you realise there are more people out there that are here for you than you think. You don't have to go through stuff on your own, because it's there. It's not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of, I don't know, it's a sign of strength to know that there are strength in numbers, and to know those numbers are there and people are there to help you through things. And then in turn, once you go through that and you realise that support network's there, then you might be able to help someone else, and they can help someone else, and then it's spiderwebs, and then it just goes off. And that is one of the definitions, I think, of spreading positivity and try. In the world we live in now, I think we've only got each other to rely on in that sense, and we should use that network.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. There was something that popped into my head that I was going to say, and I feel like I mentioned it earlier when we were chatting earlier on this afternoon, and it's literally just escaped out of my head, so now I can't remember. Hopefully it'll come back to me.
Oh, exactly.
No, it's gone. No, it's gone. I was like, oh, it's there. And it's
we'll end the podcast, you'll be like, oh, there it is. Or it'll be like 3 a.m, you'll be like, hang on a minute, just get back online.
I'll wake up in the morning, I'm like, Sharpy, let's go now. Let's get... Whatever it is, if I think about it and it's after the podcast, I'll drop it down in the comments. Because I think it is whatever it was a good point to make.
Yeah, man, definitely. But yeah, like, all peace and love, and it sounds all hippy dippy and all this, that and the other, but at the end of the day, have you ever seen a sad hippie?
It's very true.
You know,
it's very true. No, it's
a lot
very
of people
true.
that sort of like, all this, that, the other, and ridiculing other people for whatever. At the end of the day, you know, people can ridicule me for whatever and say, oh, this, that, the other. It's like, yeah, well, I'm happy, and it's more than a lot of people.
Yeah.
So just find out what makes you happy and follow that, and that'll be individual to yourself. Don't put your happiness based on someone else's expectations, because the only person that is living your life is you, and that is what is valuable, and that is what matters at the end of the day. And you'll know what that is. It just takes some figuring out.
It's literally it can be the smallest thing that can sort of start you on that road. You just got to make sure that, you know, when you are struggling, there are going to be times that you don't want to do anything, and you just want to lay in bed, or you want to, you know, sit on the sofa and do nothing. But remember, before you was in that moment, before you were so overwhelmed, remember the things that you enjoyed and the things that made you happy, and push yourself to get out and do those things.
Get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yes.
Big phrase.
Absolutely. You might be feeling bone hard and really lazy that day, and you literally want to do nothing. But before you struggled, if getting out and going for a walk through the woods is something that really brought you joy, get out in there and do it. Go for a walk. You know, rugby, any kind of sport, whatever. I play. You know, I say I play rugby. I've not been for too long since I've been. I need to get going. But sports, if it's something that you enjoy and you've stopped doing it because you're struggling, just push yourself. You know, that 1 or 2 sessions that you get back into, and it can really have a positive. Physical activity is a massive positive thing for mental
releases
health.
those endorphins, man, and it's something that, you know, is a really good thing to get into, and it does uplift your mood, get a healthy diet going. It does. I've noticed the difference in it. If anyone is doing that and wants to try that, do it. But also from my own experiences, do not get tunnel vision and get obsessed with something, because I got obsessed with competing, lifting, being the biggest guy, being the most lean guy, and shutting everything else off from it. Incorporate it into your life. Don't shut off your life for that. Make it an aspect of it, and enjoy the other things around it as well.
Make it a part of your life, not your whole entire life.
100%.
Because otherwise you'll then get consumed by that.
Yeah.
You might not necessarily be consumed by the cloud, the mental health. You'll be consumed by that. And then you'll lose other things.
That's it. Realise what's important in your life and keep that in the forefront. And if you always keep that vision on that, even in the hard days, you'll still have that to get you through it. Personally, is what I reckon.
Absolutely.
But yeah. All right, I reckon we'll wrap it up. What do you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, man, sounds good.
Good talk, man.
No, cheers for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, mate. Like I say, you're always welcome on. You're always welcome around mine for a brew. Come have a catch up, throw some weights about, we'll dick about and do all the business, mate. You know how it is.
Yeah, man, sounds good. Absolutely. No, I've enjoyed being on, and it's been quite a serious conversation, but if it helps people, then it helps people. I'm all, I like that balance of serious and enjoyment and laughter at the same time.
Life's a balance, mate. It's finding that balance, and you're not wrong, but like I say, you're always welcome around, mate. Like I said before, community together, getting through all this COVID stuff, and just getting through everyday life as a thing. Like, so what's important is keeping that connection, and especially with like-minded people, it's nice. It keeps me going anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And there's always going to be someone there for you, whether that's one of us two. For anybody that's listening, then we'll always do what we can.
That's it. So. We're all ears. If anyone's struggling or anything, give one of us a message if you feel like you want to, and just get in touch and see what we can do. You never know. Like I say, the things that you're unknown in the future, they can be anxious, but they can also be exciting. And stuff that you've not done before, them uncharted waters, so to speak, can lead to new exciting things. Who knows?
Massively. But thanks for having me on, bro.
Absolute star, mate. I love you lots. And I shall
love you, bro.
catch you later, bro. Peace. Alright guys, thank you very much. That has been the second episode of Sharpy Does Bits, mate. We had Matt on there, wanted to come talk about mental health, and it's something I'm very big on as well. Hopefully that has provided some insight into things like we've gone through and coping mechanisms and how we've dealt with it. And if it has helped anyone, please let us know, because it'd be nice to know that people are watching and sort of taking stuff away from this, because that is the reason that the guests that I get on and myself personally want to do this is to provide guidance for anyone that feels is necessary, and take away from it whatever you take away from it. Everything will take something individual away from it. And if you want to come on the show yourself, and like I say, you can come on and say to me, I want to talk about vinyl records, or I want to talk about skiing, or whatever it is that you find you want to talk about, get something off your chest, something that's bothering you, something that you think you're really proud of doing, or something that is just completely nuts, like anything you want to come on and share and you feel like will provide some happiness or joy from conversations that we might have, then let me know, get in touch with me, and I am going to be continuing to do these interviews and just spread some positivity and learn a little bit more as well, because I always want to learn a little bit more about little things that I don't understand. Again, it's one way of growing and developing, and that is one thing that I absolutely love to do. So thank you all for watching. Next episode will be coming, not next week, the week after, where I've got another guest lined up, who should be a very interesting one as well. He's a very good friend of mine, but you shall find out then. But as for now, I have been the Permanent Sharpie, permanent as always, and everybody take care.